Well, a brand new bill just passed the House, and it is said to tackle anti-Semitism, particularly on college campuses. And I understand the sentiment. I, however, oppose the bill, and you can agree with it. That's fine. It's still America, so you are allowed to be wrong. But I think once you see how I see this bill, you're probably going to agree with me, even if you don't want to. It's Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. I'm Stuart Allister. From the Washington Post, House passes anti-Semitism bill over complaints from First Amendment advocates. This is going to be very, very strange because it could be misconstrued as me being anti-Israel, and nothing could be further from the truth. I am pro-Israel, and I make no. I'm not bashful about it. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't hide it. I am pro-Israel. Now, for those of you out there who this guy is he's always showing his dual loyalty to Israel. It's like, what is it, man? It's like, okay, this channel is for thinkers. You are a non-thinker. There are many other channels out there, MSNBC, CNN. You can go there. But I'm going to tell you, you can be pro-Israel and be against this bill. And I'm telling you right out, the bill is un-American. Period. End of story. All right. Before we go any further, why don't you wreck that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and press that notification bell so you never miss an episode. People are just so... House Republicans are seeking to unite their unruly majority. This is it's the Washington Post, all right? Their unruly majority around an evergreen conservative cause, devising a strict response to the wave of pro-Palestinian protests that have roiled college campuses across the country in recent weeks. GOP leaders this week announced plans for a new oversight investigation of elite universities where, in the words of House Republican Whip Tom Emmer, quote, pro-Teletubby anti-Semites are taking over, close quote. And on Wednesday, they passed an Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which its advocates said would empower the federal government to crack down on anti-Israel protests on campuses by codifying a definition of anti-Semitism that encompasses not just threats against Jews, but also certain criticisms of Israel itself. Quote, we must give the Department of Education the tools to hold college administrators accountable for refusing to address anti-Semitism on their campuses. You see, let's just keep going. The bill was approved by a 320 to 91 with a majority of Democrats, 133 joining Republicans. Lawyers' bill, with 61 co-sponsors, including 15 Democrats, would create, quote, a clear definition of anti-Semitism in U.S. law that the Education Department could then use to cut off funding to academic institutions found to tolerate such behaviors. The definition, however, has drawn fierce opposition from First Amendment advocates such as the American Civil Liberties Union and liberal Democrats who say it veers sharply into the realm of restricting political views. Oh, really? So now all of a sudden, some Democrats are saying, "Wait a minute! I think this impinges on freedom of speech, and you should be able to voice, whatever you want politically." Now all of a sudden, okay, when it came out, when the Twitter files came out, they were calling for more censorship. But now all of a sudden, when they see their fortunes at risk. Now, all of a sudden, these Democrats, now they're, well, hold on a minute. You're impinging on someone's free speech. It's unclear what the bill's prospects are in the Democratic-controlled Senate or how the White House views it. You got to be kidding me, Washington Post. You think Joe Biden would pass something like this? He would veto it. In fact, he would probably make it a ceremony to veto it. Previous iterations failed to muster sufficient support in Congress, but both its supporters and opponents say the ongoing protest and the rise of anti-Semitism since Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel have injected fresh momentum. If it does become law, the federal definition of anti-Semitism adopted from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance would include such speech as, quote, claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor, applying to double standards to Israel that are not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation, and drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the, N-word. I find this to be un-American. As I've said before, free speech protects the speech of those with whom I disagree. I believe that the Ku Klux Klan should be able to say whatever they want to say. I mean, within the bounds of the law. I mean, you can't incite, you know what I mean? There's certain things you can't do, but they should be able, if they want to call me a name, they should be able to call me a name. Derogatory, that's what free speech is for. It's for the people who say things you don't like. That's why it's there. I'm really it's perplexing to me as how this is so difficult for people to comprehend. Like, free speech isn't for you and your besties. It's not for you and your spouse. It's for those with whom you vehemently disagree. That's what free speech is for. Man, this world is full of non-thinkers. The idea is that student held signs, for example, like those displayed at Columbia University in New York this week, calling for revolution, or I can't say that because it's YouTube, which means uprising, would amount to anti-Semitism under the law. The Education Department, in turn, could then revoke federal research grants and other funding to the university that fails to take punitive action towards students who express such views. I guess, in order to be able to function as an American, you actually have to be an adult. It is becoming increasingly obvious to me that some people are 16 years old They have all the trappings of being an adult, but they're not. They're like arrested development. Sure, they may be 35, 45 years old, but their EQ is dismal, in the single digits. For those of you who don't know, an EQ is like the IQ, but the EQ is for your emotional quotient, like what your emotional well-being is. Can you actually see past your passions? And these people, a ton of them, their EQ is so low, you may not even be able to count it. Several Republicans said opposing Zionism, the political movement to create and now to preserve a state of Jews in their biblical homeland, would qualify as anti-Semitism under the law. Some suggested that even holding a prolonged protest would constitute anti-Semitism. Quote, the erection of encampments on college campuses isn't an expression of speech, Marcus Molarino said on the House floor Wednesday. It is a direct threat to Jewish students on college campuses, close quote. What do you think about that? When you're on a college campus, you are going to start meeting people with opposing views. That's part of going, to school. I'm not talking about college. I mean, any school. If you sent your children, if you didn't homeschool them and you took them to a school, and a private school or public school, you start meeting other kids. Your children start meeting other children who are raised by other people. Other people that perhaps don't believe in your God. And those children don't believe in your God. And so in order to be a competent person, you have to be able to play with others that don't agree with everything that comes out of your mouth. Now, with regard to this, in theory, it sounds perfectly fine. Hey, I'm pro-Palestinian. In theory, that sounds okay. Practically, however, we know what that means. It means necessarily you're anti-Israel. From the river to the sea. That is call for genocide. I know they don't want it. No, it isn't. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm not going to play those games. Now, hang on. Let's go a little bit further here. But the double standards example of the notion that the, inward comparisons are off limits in cases of Israel, among other aspects of the definition, are deeply problematic because they're too broad and present viewpoint discrimination. Oh, there's a new word. That's a new term, said Tyler Coward, lead counsel for government affairs at the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, a First Amendment advocacy organization. Nowhere else in First Amendment law does it say that you can criticize a certain country up to a certain limit, or else you might risk violating federal anti-discrimination law. That's my point. Let me read that for you again. Nowhere else in First Amendment law does it say that you can criticize a certain country, and we're only talking about one country. Keep that in mind. up to a certain limit, or else you might risk violating federal anti-discrimination laws. This is an un-American bill. And I understand, I know what Republicans are trying to do. They're trying to seize the moment. They're using Israel as political fodder. I get it. If you don't think that's what's happening, you have no business being in this conversation. The First Amendment allows individuals to criticize every country in the world, including our own. And that includes comparing other governments to the N-words, however disturbing many Americans may find the comparison to be. It is un-American. Now, when we start talking about your ability or inability to criticize Israel or criticize Jews, this is what free speech is for. This is what it's for. Okay, now I'm going to say something, and it'll probably be misconstrued, which is fine. You know what? Whatever. The reason I oppose this bill is because it is un-American. I believe America is superior to every culture and form of governance around the globe. I want to make this really clear. I believe America is superior to all the other governments on the globe, up to and including Israel. I believe America, our culture, but we are the only country in the world that you can come from the Middle East, you can come from Asia, you can come from Turkey, you can come from wherever you want. You can come from Japan, North Korea, you can come from wherever, and you can become an American. I can't do that in China. Can't do that in Mexico. Go try to buy property in Mexico. Okay? You're going to have a 99-year lease, and then it reverts right back to the country. We are unique. You see, most people don't understand because they can't see America in the context of history. But when you look at all of the other countries around the world, China, European countries, Russia, do you know how long those people have been there? We've only been here for 250 some odd years, and we rocked it. The framers did something that was extraordinary. They did something that had never been done before. And they did it based on a rule of law. It drives me bananas because people want to say, oh, you're just praising old white men. First of all, those men weren't old. That's what you were thinking. They're all old. They weren't. But second, they're either brilliant or they're not. The evidence of their brilliance is look around. How many people are tripping over themselves to get here? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I say all that to say we are a superior culture and government. even with all of the warts and blemishes of this country, we are the premier superpower. We came from nothing. Stu, what are you talking about? Your ancestors were slaves. That's my point. So so we're going to go over this. This is where the definition is coming from. Working definition of anti-Semitism. Adopt the following non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. Quote, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. Contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools, and workplace, and in the religious sphere could taking into account the overall context, include, but are not limited to, calling for aiding and justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of radical ideology or an extremist view of religion. It's like, okay. Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as collective, such as especially, but not exclusively, the myth about the world Jewish conspiracy or Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions, accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even the acts committed by non-Jews. Denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, i.e. gas chambers, or intentionally of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of the National Socialist Germany. I need to point this out. Maybe I don't, because you guys are pretty astute, but just in case you're not, do you know what that means? Those three words there, National Socialist Germany. I think it actually has a couple, because I thought it was the Workers' Party. National Socialist Germany Workers' Party. But just that. Do you know what that means? That's the N word. Yeah. No, National Socialist Germany. Socialist. Socialist. Not capitalists. Socialists. Yeah. That's where we get the term the N word. I just wanted to point that out. So the next time you hear Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez rail saying that somebody is a N-word, understand, National Socialist. National Socialist. Supporters and accomplices during World War II, the Holocaust. Accusing the Jews of a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Accusing Jewish students of being... Now see, all of this stuff. Saying what you can't say. You can't teach. I have a problem with that. Again, it's un-American. denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, e.g., the claiming that the existence of the state of Israel is a racist endeavor, applying double standards by requiring of its a behavior not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation. And this is where it gets hairy. Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, e.g., claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel to criticize Israel or Israelis, drawing comparisons to contemporary Israeli policy to the N-word, and holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. I want to go up to that one that's at the top there. Claims of Jews killing Jesus. So when you hear someone say they want to ban the Bible, you can't even teach the Bible anymore. That's why they're saying that. Because it's in the Bible. By the way, there's a whole bunch of offensive stuff in the Bible. That's why people don't like it. Trust me. When we really start burning books, the Bible's going to be the first to go. Now I need to show you this so that I can show you how un-American this bill is. I am not anti-Jewish. I am not anti-Israel. And if you can't see the distinction between the two, let me clarify it for you. We're America. We're not Israel. Israel is Israel. We're Americans. We're different. And I just iterated why I believe we have the most superior governance and culture this world has ever seen. And what I'm telling you is, we've already covered this. The laws are already on books that cover this. We don't need this legislation to start defunding people who say things that you don't like. You don't. So let me show you this. This is from 1 Thessalonians 2:14 through 15. And then, dear brothers and sisters, you suffered persecution from your own countrymen. In this way, you imitated the believers in God's churches in Judea, who, because of their belief in Jesus Christ, suffered from their own people, the Jews. For some of the Jews, doesn't say Jews, but some of the Jews killed the prophets, and some even killed Lord Jesus. Now they have persecuted us too. They fail to please God and work against all humanity. Now, that is the New Living Translation. It's more stark in the King James Version, but I think you understand what I'm saying. When you have this, because not all Jews killed Jesus, but Jews requested the death of Jesus. You can't read the New Testament and not come to a different conclusion. That's what went down. But what this bill is saying is that when you start, teaching that, what if you get some lunatic in your church? What if you get some lunatic in your group and they take it to the extreme? Well, you could say that about anything. You could say that about anyone. You could say that about the founding fathers. What if somebody gets an idea that slavery should be reinstituted because they read something where, of course you can say that. You can say that about anything, which is why I say, I guess, man, you really have to be an adult to live here. And which is why so many people are having a very, very difficult time, because they're not adults. They're 16-year-olds in a 45-year-old body. As I said, their EQ is dismal in the single digits. So I'm telling you, point blank, I take exception to this. I don't like it. I don't like it. And it's not because I'm anti-Semitic. I stand with Israel. I don't know if I can make that any clearer. But this is America. This isn't Israel. I mean, I'm amazed at the people that they can actually, walk and chew gum. Representative Jerry Nadler, a Jewish lawmaker who has co-sponsored other bills aimed at combating anti-Semitism and described himself Wednesday as a deeply committed Zionist, urged colleagues to reject lawyer's bill, which he characterized as misguided because it threatens to chill constitutionally protected speech. If this legislation were to become law, he said, universities wanting to avoid federal investigations could end up suppressing protected speech, criticizing Israel or supporting Palestinians. The students and faculty might be driven to self-censor. Now, all of a sudden, Jerry Nadler is for free speech. My goodness gracious, when did that happen? These are the very same people that when the Twitter files were coming out, they were all for it. They were calling for more censorship. They wanted more censorship. You need to clamp down harder on these people. You're not censoring enough. You need to censor harder, censor more. He was one of them. But now all of a sudden he sees what's happening. And so opposing this bill, maybe your, pro-Palestinian, constituents will go easy on you. That's all that's about. If you think that's, wow, he's got some really deep convictions, trust me, no, he doesn't. What he is doing is, So I'm just telling you, as I see it, if everything that we just read is accurate, and I got what we were watching, what we were reading was from the website where they're getting their definition of anti-Semitism. I got it directly from their website. It's un-American to codify that. What's worse, we don't need it. Just like we don't need hate speech. We don't need it. We've got adequate laws on the books. It's just, look, I know that this is really, really long, and I get it, but I really want to nail this down. Okay. This is an un-American bill. If people start painting signs that says pro-Israel or pro-Palestine or pro-Russia, they have every right to do so. This is coming. I am a pro-Israel guy, but I am not just pro-America. I am an American. This is my homeland. So this is the one I will protect. And you can, this notion that no, you got to choose which one. No, you don't. You're a moron. Swear, man, you belong with the children. You should take recess. Take recess. Don't play with your friends on the play yard. while the adults talk. Donald Trump proved you can be first America and pro-Israel at the same time. Now, do you know what they feel about Donald Trump? I mean, Israel, they love that guy. Love him. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden, from just talking from Israelis' point of view, no bueno. No bueno.